There we go. Hello, friends. Well, Plain Power, I'm glad that we could be here just on time. We're back, y'all. We're back. There's been some reactions to the federal budget from all of the different parties. Our dear, dear friend Faya is finishing up. Yeah, woo, budget. Is currently finishing up her stream. She took over so that I could go pick up Kiddo and sort of get myself situated. Probably just order pizza for dinner, so we're good to dig into the rest of this. So yeah, we'll start with, I'm sure some of you have already seen it if you're coming from Faya's stream. Castro was mentioned in Parliament. And yeah, we're gonna take a look at that because that's just wild. But how are you, everybody? We had a very busy stream this afternoon. Some lovely new friends raided in, and so glad you can accommodate your schedule. All for you, Plain Power. All for you. But yeah, I'm gonna load up the Castro quote because that was just wild. Just popping out our YouTube chat here so we can see them. There we go. Alrighty. Let's go here. Making jokes about Polyev's here. Yeah, y'all, Polyev's got some hair going. You can hear a little one in the background. Hi, Jabbers. How's it going? I figured I would come back on and we can take a look at the reactions to the federal budget that was announced a couple hours ago. We have reactions from all of the other parties. Our lovely friend that spoke to the education minister in Alberta and like, whew, did not let him get away with stuff, has also spoken to some of our leaders, and it's very good. Yeah, I think everyone that's here for now is here. So you, because yeah, again, if you're coming from Faya's stream, you've already seen this. So let's take a look. So Philippe Chopin did a speech for a very, 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 very long time. Didn't really say anything outside of, we did a real great job, yay us. Here comes the Castro quote. You ready? So he's done, everyone's clapping, they're happy.
Questions and comments.
We're just gonna look. So Fierce Tuskers, we're just gonna look at the reactions to the budget because watching question period in the actual budget speech was
Calgary East. Questions and comments. Questions and comments.
Thanks, Anu. Bayo was lovely and took over most of the budget speech, so I could get Kiddo and stuff. Nope, not a Carney speech. The finance minister. So the vote doesn't happen. The earliest that they could call an election is Friday, but there's a couple things that have happened that point to no election that we'll talk about in just a minute.
The member for Joliette Manawan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Minister of Finance for his speech. It was as long as a speech by Fidel Castro would have.
There you go. I'll go back and repeat that. Listen into this, y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Minister of Finance for his speech. It was as long as a speech by Fidel Castro would have been.
Like, why Fidel Castro?
Now, the
Nobody knows.
minister says that this is a generational budget. When we read the budget, we see that there will be 115 billion.
Anyway, that's the one comment from Parliament where I was like, sorry? So, we'll listen to Peter's reaction because it's not very long.
Another strong together.
Rah, 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 rah.
Resuming debate, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Look at how excited they are for him. Oh, that's so smug, his little, like, adjustment
Mr.
tie.
Speaker, I congratulate the minister for presenting his
I do.
first budget speech, but he spoke for quite some time.
Representing his what? Oh, first. I said forced.
And given this Liberal government is adding almost 10 billion to our national debt every hour, it must be the most expensive speech in the history of this parliament.
They
Minister
didn't
for
bring
his
power.
first budget speech. It
They
was
actually
a
are gonna let
very
debate.
long speech.
Little taters, I promise. His speech is short, and we're gonna do Elizabeth May right next.
And given that this government is adding about $10 million
Yeah.
to our national debt every single hour, I think we can say that while talk is cheap, it's very expensive when a Liberal finance minister does it.
I'm so clever. You're being brave.
Every dollar that the government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. And the more they spend, the more things cost. And that's why the Liberals doubled the cost of housing and lineups at food banks. And that's why we wanted an affordable budget for a more affordable Canada.
This government
Hi.
is the most expensive in Canadian.
Hello, friends. Welcome back. Hello. Hello. Huge shout out to Faya for taking over the rest of that budget speech. Boy, it was dry. But she did a wonderful job. I super appreciate that. I am thankful for a community of people to do this stuff with. Because, yeah, this is... It can be a lot. And we have... Oh no! You're all good, friend. If you're not following Faya Kim, give her a follow. She is a wonderful creator on this space as well. I realize that if you're coming from Faya's stream, you've already seen this, so we're gonna zoom through Pira Poilievre's and then switch over to the rest of the reactions.
Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. The more they spend, the more things cost. And that's why Conservatives were calling for an affordable budget, for an affordable life, after Liberals doubled the cost of housing and doubled the lineups at our food banks.
Today, the Liberals have introduced the most costly deficit in the history of our country as outside of COVID. It will generate higher costs for groceries, housing, and for everything else.
The Liberals have introduced the most costly
Oh,
and
they're gonna
largest budget deficit in history outside of family in
He's
Canada.
gonna repeat himself.
And that $90 billion to the Prime Minister's heckles is above and beyond the promised $16 billion that he says he will one day find. And if he doesn't find them, it will be over $100 billion in brand new spending to respond to the Prime Minister's heckles, Mr. Speaker. He also promised that he would invest more. His own budget document lays out a graph showing that every quarter of this year will see private sector business investment collapse. This costly budget forces Canadians to spend more on debt interest than on healthcare transfers. More than the government collects in GST. That means every dollar the Canadians pay in GST will go to bankers and bondholders instead of to doctors and nurses. All while he raises the industrial carbon tax
I
on
appreciate
farm
you,
equipment
Faya.
and fertilizer and therefore food,
Okay,
on
French.
steel,
Welcome in.
concrete, and other industrial projects needed to build homes, a big tax increases on homes and food.
Also, if y'all are done with this and you just want to go watch someone hang out and play games, go and hang out with Faya. We're gonna keep watching this for now.
Oh no.
So, on behalf of Canadians who are already paying too much for the cost of this Liberal government to heat themselves, house themselves and feed themselves, Conservatives will not be able to support this budget.
Instead, we will. Our party wanted an affordable budget for an affordable life, and on behalf of all the Canadians who can no longer afford to eat, heat, or house themselves because of Liberal inflation, we Conservatives cannot support this costly Liberal budget.
Except. Oh, there's a major win. We'll talk about right after
for the
this.
Prime Minister to do the right thing. We will put forward an amendment that will transform this policy by making Canada affordable again. It will get rid of the industrial carbon tax.
Make Canada affordable again.
Cut
Don't
the
love
wasteful
that.
spending to bring down debt, inflation, and taxes. It will open our country up to opportunity by developing our prodigious resources, clear away bureaucracy to build affordable homes.
We want the Prime Minister to accept our amendment to make life more affordable for Canadians,
He
to
really
make their
is.
paychecks stronger and our
I'm going to
economy
claim
more
power
independent.
right after
That's
this.
the approach we're going to
We're going to
propose.
start low, and then we'll go build up higher.
We're proposing an economy that's more affordable for our young people, that is safer for our seniors, and that protects Canada's promise for everyone who works hard.
Full future. For our young people, we want homes, jobs, and hope. For our seniors, we want affordability.
Homes, jobs,
and
and
we
hope.
want for all Canadians who work hard to bring back the promise of Canada. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Oh, what's the piece of paper?
And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move, second by the member for Edmonton Gateway, that the debate be now adjourned. Thank you.
Mr. Polyev, seconded by Mr. Upal, moves that the debate be now adjourned. Pursuant to Standing Order 83-2, the motion is deemed adopted and the House stands adjourned until tomorrow at 2 p.m. pursuant to Standing Order.
Anyway, that's Pierre Poilievre's response for right now. Unfortunately for Pierre Poilievre, we have a Conservative MP that deflected. Defected? There we go. A Conservative MP is not considering he's going. What's his name here? Chris. Here we are. Nova Scotia MP Chris D'Entremont resigned from the Conservative caucus today. Yeah. And he's joining the Liberals. That is information I didn't know yet. So they are now 2 seats away from a majority government. Thanks, Tyrion. I appreciate it. In a statement disseminated by the Liberal Party, D'Entremont said he intended to leave the Conservatives after serious consideration and thoughtful conversations with constituents. Yeah, it sounds like he didn't. He's joining the Liberals. I came to a clear conclusion. There's a better path forward and a better path for Aki. You want an Udi. He won by 1 percentage point over his Liberal opponent in the spring federal election. Yeah, Neropunk, I agree. 2 more maybe crossing as well. Yeah, Politico. That's the article that I had open. I was like, there's a different one that I had. Politico. There we go. Thank you. A budget so good, a Conservative is voting for it. Yeah. He barely beat the Liberal candidate. He had a recent falling out with his party after its caucus refused to back him as Speaker for the House of Commons, a position he has sought more than once. He previously served as Deputy Speaker of the House. His views are more in step with Carney, because Carney is also a Conservative. But yeah, a budget so conservative. Hey, Potato Mage. But yeah, not the greatest look for the Conservative Party. You know, we can talk about not wanting him to join certain things, but at the very least, they need 2 more. That's it. They only need 3 in total, and they have 1. That's it. They need 2 more. We're going to go to this wonderful human who is the one that tore a strip off of Demetrius Nicolaitis after the notwithstanding clause. I'm going to turn the sound on.
Them to catch the winds of economic change because we believe in Canada.
There is a lot for us to unpack from both the policy and political perspective. The politics of this budget has been a focus now for
Sorry, y'all, there's no closed captions. This is also very, very loud.
a number of days in the lead up to it. Will it force an election? That is going to depend on whether the government
Yeah,
is able to
it's beautiful here as well.
from
Hey!
opposition parties, and to that
Thanks,
end,
Info
we are gonna
Femwar. I
speak
appreciate
to
the
all
follow.
of them. The interim leader of the NDP, Don Davies, will be here. The Conservatives House Leader, Andrew Scheer, will be here as well, and so will Federal Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne. First, though, to the details of this budget, the headline numbers that you need to know. The big one, of course, is the deficit, which is going to come in at $78.3 billion.
We are going to skip
a
that
very
stuff for
political
now.
document, and so we've got to get reaction to what's in this budget and what isn't in this budget from opposition parties with whom the fate of this budget rests, right? Because this is a minority government, the Liberals have to secure support from opposition parties in order to pass the budget and in order for there not to be an election anytime soon. To that end, I'm joined live here by the interim leader of the New Democrats, Don Davies. Mr. Davies, a pleasure to see you as always. I appreciate you making the time.
Great to be here.
Yeah, we're not going to watch the Scheer interview. I have no interest in listening to him anymore today.
Vashi.
Do you know if you're going to support this budget?
We don't yet. We just got a lockout about an hour ago. We haven't had a chance to meet as a caucus yet, which we'll be doing tonight. We plan on studying the budget and really understanding it tonight, and then we'll meet tomorrow morning and start having our political discussions. And we also want to check with some stakeholders and hopefully talk to Canadians, particularly working Canadians, and find out whether this budget's responsive to their needs.
You had identified coming into the introduction of this budget, primarily you didn't want to see a budget of austerity, which a few months ago was one of the ways in which the Prime Minister had described it, much less now. And you wanted to see enough on the investment side of the ledger. They have maintained all the social program spending that they had indicated that they would, the transfers to individuals, the transfers to provinces, the lunch program, the dental care program, a whole host of other programs that have been put in place under the previous government. Is that enough to signal to you that the concern you had expressed was taken seriously?
Well, I always think it's important to contextualize this budget a little bit. We haven't had one in 18 months, and the country's facing, I think, very serious economic issues. Unemployment's at 10-year highs, particularly hard for young people, 1 in 6 people out of work. We have skyrocketing prices and everything from groceries to rent. Economic growth is weak, and we have, of course, our serious problems from south of the border. So serious affordability issues, and our economy, I think, is I do agree with the Prime Minister, it's at a bit of a crossroads. So we want to see a budget that has investments. And so this budget is a complex one. There's things in there that we like and things in there that we don't like. And we're going to be taking the time to kind of evaluate them and see where it comes out in the balance.
On principle, though, can you acknowledge that a $78 billion deficit
Yeah, that would definitely be better.
does signal that the government leaned way more toward investment than to austerity?
Yeah, and let me say, I'll give you some things I like and some things I don't like. So there's $51 billion announced in infrastructure spending, and it's at least notionally tied to unionized work or community benefit agreements, which is wage prevailing rates. So that meets one of the NDP's calls, which is good union jobs to be created with taxpayer dollars. The East-West electricity grid is mentioned on page 1 of the budget, which is something we campaigned on. And finally, there's a specific box and highlight of co-op housing, which is something the NDP has long fought for. On the negative side of the ledger, you've got cutting 40,000 public sector jobs. And, when you have a jobs crisis, putting 40,000 well-paying jobs or people out of work is going in the wrong direction, we think. And behind every person is a service. So, do Canadians want to wait 6 months to get a passport? You want to wait 3 months to get your call back from CRA?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Or see.
And she, she interviews these guys. I'm going to do his, and then we'll go to the end where she speaks to Philip Champagne himself. Because we're not going to listen to Andrew Scheer. But yes, she is. She's great.
Yes, checks? I don't think so. And
do you think that's true, though? Just if I may interrupt for a moment, because if you think back 10 years or pre-pandemic, pre-pandemic era, when the size of the public service was substantially smaller than it is now, were passport services that much worse? Were services at the CRA that much worse? My goodness, the Auditor General, even with this level of employment, is signaling that you can't even get a right answer if you're lucky enough to get through. So is it that quid pro quo, that the amount of people working for the public service is directly correlated with the level of service that Canadians retain? Because I would contend that it's not.
Well, there's a number of factors that go into that. For one thing, I think the public service had been cut prior to that, so I think it had been growing back to its natural state. Also, the population has grown significantly in the last 6 years.
The growth of the public service far outpaces population.
It does, but also
she does not let people get away with stuff. I love it.
Didn't have the Canadian Dental Care Plan 5 years ago either. So there's been an increase in services. When I see that CRA, their answers are correct to Canadians only 17% of the time, that doesn't tell me that we have too many people working in CRA. So I do think that it's important to put that in context. The couple other things I would say I don't like about the budget are they're getting rid of the empty homes tax, which was a measure aimed at particularly foreign investors who bought homes for investment purposes and left them empty when we have a housing crisis. So this tax kind of was encouraging them to put those housing units into the market. So this government inexplicably is removing that, which I would guess will take those houses out of the market. That's the wrong direction.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like he doesn't have to put on a mask and try to lie his way through it.
Direction to go in. And finally, there's no digital services tax. At a time when we have a revenue problem, Vashi, and this government says we have to cut and make sacrifices, why are we not taxing the biggest U.S. tech companies in the world? We're talking Mark Zuckerberg. Because it put us at odds with Donald Trump. Well, because it put us at odds with a U.S. government in both cases that was taking, in this case, I should say, is taking direct aim at us. Yeah. Well, that's why I like the budget that satisfies Canadians, not one that satisfies Donald Trump.
Yeah, she's so good.
And I think it's going to take some political guts in this country. It's a tax that the Liberals have worked on since 2021. It raises $1 billion on profits made by those companies in Canada, over $20 million. I don't think it's too much to ask that those tech giants pay some tax on the money that they make here in Canada from Canadians. It's a political choice, but when you have a revenue problem, you can either ask Canadians to tighten their belts and you can lay off public sector workers, or you can tax Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. I would rather tax those people.
How serious are you about those concerns? Are you willing, as a party, to put, to not provide your support to this budget?
Yeah, that's totally fair, Anu. I just appreciate anybody that is willing to ask questions and then interrupt and actually be like, no, actually, I was asking this. Can you please answer it?
Therefore, leaving the country, and I'm not blaming you, but I'm saying that that's your right, therefore putting us in a situation where we're in another election? Or will you put the interests of your party, which is, by objective measure, nowhere near a place where most would want to be to contend an election, will you put those interests ahead of the ones you just spelled out for Canadians?
Well,
good question.
We're going to honor the lens that we announced from the beginning, which is we're going to analyze this budget through the lens of whether it's good for working people in this country.
But you've just told me it isn't.
No, I haven't said that it isn't. I've said that there's a number of factors on the plus side and the negative side, and we haven't had a chance to examine the entire budget and understand its full implications. It's a serious budget.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, a critical budget at a critical time, and it deserves, I think, a really good, thorough, comprehensive look at it. And we'll analyze it as a whole, but I'm well aware that 6 months ago we just had an election. The country is in fairly serious economic problems. I don't think Canadians want an election. Right. I don't think we particularly need one. But again, that's up to Mr. Carney. I want to ask maybe whether or not he's open to making changes to this budget. That may be a possibility as well.
Is that something that you'd be interested in? You
Absolutely.
Pursue that with him?
We're going to talk as a caucus tomorrow, and if this budget is not good enough yet, that's an option for us to do.
I just have one final question for you, and it's about something you said over the weekend, in which you laid out the possibility that nothing was off the table, including abstention. And I think for a lot of Canadians, when you just described the moment we're in, the important context of this moment, the significance of this this document against the backdrop of that moment. How can you at the same time say it's okay to sit this one out?
Wow. She is really making sure that he's not getting away with what he said. Look at his shoulders went up instantly.
Well, abstaining isn't sitting something out. It's taking a position. One of the interesting things about this moment is we're not only examining the budget and whether or not it's good for Canada and Canadians, but the unique implication of this right now is that it could cause an election.
Yeah.
6 months after another election. That's not usually the case. So that's something that weighs on us. I'm a Jack Layton New Democrat. Jack said it's our job to come here to Parliament and make it work for Canadians. We want to be propositional. We want to be positive. I want to focus on policies that will help Canadians who are suffering. 50% of Canadians in this country are living paycheck to paycheck fashion. So they've sent us here not to play political games or to decide what's in our partisan interests, but can we work together and find solutions to make lives better for those people? That's my first priority.
But what
and that's
does
what we'll focus
abstention
on.
fit into? How does abstention fit into that? It is sitting it out. Instead of taking a stand one way or the other, it is sitting it out. And I'm not sure that's what Canadians elected New Democrats to do here.
Well, it's one of the options we have. I guess it's suitable in a position where the budget is not in a position where we can support it. They haven't earned, let's say, an MP's votes, but perhaps neither do they want to bring down the government and go to an election.
Is that your position?
No, that's the objective position that.
Wow,
You haven't landed on
That's
that yet.
why. No, that's why it's a totally
He's keeping up with her, though.
option in this case. You can vote yes, you can vote no, you can abstain, and each one of those positions has an implication on whether this government exists, survives or not. And so we're going to take serious consideration to all of them.
Okay, I'm going to leave it on that note. Mr. Davies, I appreciate your time as always.
Thank you
very much. Don Davies is the interim leader of the New Democratic Party. We're going to get
vote for a budget that has tens of thousands of job cuts in it. And
I just want to hear her tear and
I got to
hear
ask
a
you, we
new
just
one.
got into our inbox. An MP of yours, Chris D'Entremont, has quit caucus, has resigned from caucus. Your reaction to that and what it says about your party?
Well, it's disappointing that Chris D'Entremont has decided that he doesn't want to fight for a more affordable life for Canadians, that he doesn't want to fight inflationary deficits that are driving up grocery prices in his riding. He's now telling constituents that he just got their votes just a few months ago that now he's in favor of the industrial carbon tax on things like farm equipment and fertilizer, driving up food costs. That he's in favor of fuel standards that the Liberals are
I don't care about him. I'm going to listen to her.
By 17 cents a liter. So he'll have to go back to the supporters in his riding that dug deep into their own pockets to support his campaign and explain why he took their precious time and resources and then turned their back on them just a few months later.
Might it be that he doesn't think your party's solutions are the correct ones now?
Maybe he just doesn't think you have what it takes.
He ran on them in the platform. He saw our platform and he said, yes, I support all this back in April when Conservatives were offering hope to young Canadians who couldn't find jobs, who had to move back in with their parents back into their parents' basement. Our platform offered hope for young Canadians. Mark Carney's message is one of sacrifice, that Canadians who have been hammered hard by the cost of living crisis are going to have to sacrifice even more to feed a ever-growing budget, a deficit that's going to add.
I think I agree. Abstention isn't the same. You're forcing him to explain it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Have you considered that your policies are awful?
Billions to the national debt that has to be paid off with interest. So Mr. D'Entremont's got to explain that to his constituents.
And I hope we have definitely requested an interview, and I'll be asking him those questions. But ultimately, what does it say that there might be enough in this budget and the way in which this Prime Minister is governing to satisfy someone who ran just a few months ago as a Conservative? Does that not say something more largely about your
I wouldn't
party?
read too much of that. I know Mr. D'Entremont has had some personal grievances about the fact that he didn't get elected deputy speaker. He's been kind of upset about that. So I'm disappointed that he let his own personal grievances get in the way of his commitment to his constituents, that he would fight for a more affordable budget to bring down the cost of living, to lower the tax burden on Canadians. But again, he's going to have to explain to all the people that he looked in the eye, took their donations, put signs on their lawns, and then explain why he betrayed them just a few months later.
Let's talk a little bit about the content of the budget. This government is decreasing immigration, getting rid of climate policies your party wanted gone, and cutting the public service. If you believe, as you told Canadians during the election, that those things will better our country, isn't this budget worth supporting?
Why do you say they're shrinking the size
Oh, I like her.
of the federal
The public service by 40,000 jobs.
Well, what I saw was a deficit of 55.6
Yeah, he definitely shouldn't be.
billion. Sorry, that's public debt service. The deficit under
He has to look at his notes. He was not prepared for that question.
Mark Carney is even bigger than under Justin Trudeau.
I didn't say they're not spending, but I'm
Okay, I know I said we weren't going to watch Andrew Scheer, but I am very interested in watching her take him down.
saying that they are cutting the public service, which is something you advocated for.
Well, first of all, there's a lot of
Oh, I didn't like that at all. Look at the way he reaches his hand out toward her, and she has to put a full
Mark
lean
Carney
back.
is even bigger than under Justin Trudeau.
I didn't say they're not spending, but I'm saying that they are cutting the public service, which is something you advocated for.
Well, first of all, there's a lot of
Look at
notional
her
things
body.
that they're hoping Canadians will trust them that will actually come to fruition. When you see a government that's announcing
Hey, thank you for the sub, Storm of Night Vale. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
new
Yeah, no, you're good,
programs,
Jared. I
massive
see ya.
amounts of new inflationary spending that's going to drive up that deficit. I don't see that as the government getting smaller. I see more and more Canadians having to work harder, pay more taxes to pay the interest on
Actually, it's not true, and I'm just going to repeat the same talking points I just said 2 minutes ago.
that debt that Mark Carney's racking up. I mean, what
Don't
Mark
you
Carney's
dare change
essentially
the
saying
channel.
is, after 10 years of inflationary deficits and
Oh, he should
massive
be.
overspending by Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney's saying the problem in Canada is that the government wasn't spending enough, that the deficit wasn't big enough,
Again with Justin Trudeau.
and that the debt was not big enough. You know that now under Mark Carney, more of your tax dollar is going to pay the interest on that debt than on healthcare? That's not sustainable.
I have a number of questions for the minister about the level of debt service charges, and I do take your point on that. I also think back to the last time we, as a country, were in a crisis in 2008 and 2009. And I remember the Prime Minister at the time, Stephen Harper, spending a lot of money on infrastructure in order to stimulate the economy. When I look at the line items that add to increased spending to drive up that deficit, a huge chunk in this case is exactly that, is spending on infrastructure in order to spur economic growth against the backdrop of an economic crisis. Why was it okay then and not now?
Oh my goodness.
What the difference was targeted investments after years of balanced budgets, bringing Canada's fiscal house back in order.
I forgot when I said we don't want to watch Andrew Scheer, I forgot how much it was amazing to watch her take apart Demetrius the other day.
Versus now when we see a government that's really spending a lot of money on areas that's not going to benefit Canadians. There's not a single affordability measure in this budget, not a single thing that's going to lower grocery prices or reward hard work. This is a budget that's creating new ways for the government to spend money. It's bloating bureaucracies.
He sure
All the things
did.
you're talking about are notional and far off. I look at the tables that they actually put in the budget. Investments going down this quarter.
What is
down
he
last
talking
quarter.
about?
They're projecting it to go down next quarter. This is all since Mark Carney's become Prime Minister.
So what would you have them do? Nothing? Because that's do you
Yes, girl.
think that would resonate with Canadians? I mean, you're literally describing a situation where because of the economic crisis, investment is declining. Is there no role for government at all in stimulating a reversal of that in the same way that we did see Stephen Harper do?
Okay,
Oh, he's trying so hard to be condescending, and she's like, no, I'm going to keep talking. You can try to stop me. I hate the way that he answers
In
this.
stimulating a reversal
Look at his
of
whole
that,
body.
in the same way that we did see Stephen Harper do.
okay. I bristle when you say the choice is either what the Liberals have or nothing. Pierre has outlined.
Yeah, again, she's... Watch this kid in the back.
Bristle when you say the choice is either what the Liberals have or nothing. Pierre has outlined a lot
Whoa.
of concrete measures to help stimulate investment in Canada. For example, exempting capital gains taxes from people who reinvest in Canada. That's a concrete measure that would help bolster that investment. I also object to the idea that there's an economic crisis that is just appearing on the horizon. Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau, the Liberal government, purposefully tried to destroy the energy sector in this country. That's a sector that provides billions of dollars in investments. Mark Carney said he cheered on when when the Liberal government canceled Northern Gateway. He advised that they.
You're welcome, PCH. We try to have fun here because, I mean, I said to someone this morning, I was like, yeah, I'm going to stream the federal budget today. And they're like, why? Why? That sounds so boring. And I'm like, yeah, but I got a good audience to do it with.
Carbon tax was set too low. He supported all those policies that chased away all that investment. Now, conservatives are saying, let's bring that investment home with things like cutting the capital gains tax on reinvestments in Canada. Mark Carney goes down to Washington and says his plan is to increase Canadian investment in the United States to try to appease Donald Trump. So he's really been all over the map when it comes to investment.
There are specific incentives, though, built into this budget that aren't just about spending to do exactly what you're stipulating, right? They signal that they're going to remove the emissions cap, which is something the Conservatives have long asked for in order to spur development on the energy side of things. They're extending the carbon capture tax credits, which oil companies specifically have been asking for, I think all the way out until 2040. And they're reducing the marginal tax rate. Like,
smart.
Isn't that exactly what you spelled out? And why are you sort of reflexively saying all of it is wrong?
Well, we're not reflexively. We had the budget documents throughout
Oh, she's so good.
today. We've been going through it, and one thing I did notice is that they are increasing the industrial carbon tax. So it's
They're
not
all good things,
it's not really fair to say they're limiting the production cap on oil and gas when they're increasing the carbon tax on that very same
Do we know
sector.
for sure it's going to increase? Because it sounded, when I read through it, it was like stabilizing it, making sure there's certainty. You know for sure that
I saw
it's
the
going
word
to increase.
enhance, strengthen. Those are liberal code words for it's going to. They actually, I believe, I'm correct in.
See, and I hate this. He keeps trying to like reach for her. She's like, hell no.
Saying this, that they actually said that because they're doing these other emissions on the industrial carbon tax, that would be the justification on the production cap. So they're literally saying because they're robbing Peter, they're able to pay Paul. We're not better off as a country when that happens. What we'd like to see is get rid of the industrial carbon tax altogether. We don't need, we used to live in a country where investors wanted to come into our country because we had lower tax rates and stable regulatory regimes. 10 years of Liberal government has made it virtually impossible to get anything built in this country. The only way that there's even a glimmer of hope is with a piece of legislation that allows them to bypass some of those projects just for the ones that the Prime Minister himself supports.
What are you talking about? He's just hoping that if he says enough words, it's going to make sense.
So we've gone from a country where investors decide based on market conditions to politicians pick. That's not a sustainable way.
You are a politician, sir.
To grow an economy.
There's really nothing in here, though, that you can see on the face of it that would do exactly what you're spelling out. And just to push back, with respect on the idea that everything that was done in the last 10 years led to a flight of investment, that wasn't true. FDI increased largely over the 10 years. In fact, investment in the oil sector increased as well. I know your argument's going to be, well, it could have increased a lot more. And
the government had to spend billions of tax dollars to rescue TMX. That would not have happened before this Liberal government took office.
Yeah, but before that Liberal government took office, there wasn't a panacea of pipelines being built.
We had 4 major pipelines in the previous Conservative government,
that
including
decreased the differential to the same degree.
Tidewater.
He's trying so hard to talk down to her.
Approved Northern Gateway. That was the pipeline that would have opened up Asian markets. That would have allowed us to sell our energy into China, into Japan,
He's so
into
uncomfortable
India,
right now, and I
all kinds
love
of
it.
growing economies in Asia. The Liberals canceled that, and Mark Carney
Bazinga.
gave a
Hi,
big
Paul
thumbs
W.
up and applauded Justin Trudeau when he did that. Look,
I'm just pointing out, it wasn't like a dearth of investment. It wasn't a total, there's nothing going on, and therefore anything they decide to do that builds on that this time around is inherently wrong.
We have to look at the impact on this budget on Canadians. So what we see is an even bigger deficit and debt, and we know what that means. When you carry a balance on your credit card, you see what that interest does.
Let me explain this down to you like you don't know what's happening.
Income. That's exactly what happens with government. This is not sustainable. We've had the parliamentary budget officer, even the Bank of Canada governor, ringing the alarm bell that this is not sustainable. The government is now saying that they're going to borrow even more money than Justin Trudeau. They're going to have to go out into the markets and borrow billions and billions of dollars. That means that every other Canadian that has to renew their mortgage, buy their first home, get a small business loan, has to now compete with the government for borrowing that money. Mark Carney's increasing drug program expenses by $25 billion over Justin Trudeau's last level. So this is a government that has come in after Mark Carney as a prime minister has come in after 10 years of massive deficits, ballooning government bureaucracy, and said the answer is even more.
Okay, I'm out of time, but I think, am I safe to convey to Canadians that your party will not support the budget?
We cannot support a budget that tells Canadians that they have to sacrifice even more.
I just want to say more words. Can I say more words? I'm going to say more
Affordability
words.
measures to bring down the cost of things like groceries.
Okay, I have to leave it on that note. Mr. Scheer, I appreciate your time as always. Thank you. Conservative House Leader Andrew Scheer will take...
He thought he won that so hard. He definitely did not. Okay. Let's watch her tear down some of the Liberal.
As I did telegraph, the Minister of Finance, François-Philippe Champagne, does join me live right here in the foyer. Minister, it's a pleasure to see you. Thank you for making the time.
Anyone want to bet he turns around someone's pin to kick me sign to his back?
You have a great panel.
Yeah, I do. I'm very lucky.
I know all of
Minister,
them.
in this budget, you substantially increased the size of the deficit and debt load. Based on a pitch that you will catalyze $500 billion in additional private investment in this country over the next 5 years, how do you know that will happen?
Well, first of all, it's not how much you buy or borrow, but why.
She is so much more comfortable talking to him.
And I think that's really the question that this budget answered, because people understand now better the difference between expense and investment. This is an investment budget. So the money that is going to be borrowed, you saw that in 28, 29, we're going to be matching our operating expenses with our revenues. So what you will see after these years is really investment in the Canadian economy. And why I believe in that, just take the example of a mine. So think about the last mile and the first mile and last mile.
Hold on. You guys need to see this. It's not cursed, it's very funny. That's not what I wanted to do. Can I? Heck. I love it. Yeah, so the difference is that Andrew Scheer was talking with his hands, his palm down, like he's reaching for her.
Tax credit we have offered, for
When it goes
example,
back,
or the one for critical mineral. Well, if you do these kind of things,
his palm is up, right? Like you can't grab someone with the. I mean, you can grab someone with your palm, but like, I love it. Andrew Scheer was reaching out like he was gonna pat her on the shoulder or like grab her arm. Yeah, wavy versus grabby hands. Yeah, exactly. And he has his palms up. He's explaining. He's not reaching for her.
you're enabling obviously private investment. I would say Canada will be the most competitive jurisdiction on a tax basis, probably of the OECD.
Analysis may, yeah.
And then you would catalyze it by the province, by the municipality, and
like
obviously
people.
first and foremost the private sector. So this is really to supercharge growth. You know, you've seen the super deduction we've done for people who want to invest in plant and equipment, in technology and building. I mean, we're addressing the productivity and competitiveness challenge that this country has been facing for,
Like,
for
look,
a
she's
very
not
long
leaning
time.
back
So that's
at
why
all.
I think this is an investment budget, and the way for us to grow our economy is to invest and to provide the incentives in order for the private sector to bring
No,
and
he
to
did
have
not.
these investments.
And I do take that point, but
I'm going to pause it and just go back for a second. You can see again when Andrew Scheer was talking. I'll mute it because we don't want to listen to him, but like, look what he does with his hands. See his hands, his palms are down. And so every time he reaches out to do something, she's leaning back. Yeah, see, again, palm down. This is good, this is good. It's this hand he keeps reaching. Yeah, I do too, Sniper. Here. Watch this. That's what Scheer looks like now, yeah. Watch this arm here. right? Like he's not explaining things. He's trying to grab onto her. Now I really want to see him do it again. I just can't remember what point he did it. Yeah, there, see? His palm is down. And he's reaching for it. All good. Hi, Laurel. Anyway, that is something that I've observed today. So you guys can see the inside of my brain. I watch people like I'm a people watcher, not
and
creepy.
Why I believe in that, just take the example of a mine.
Absolutely,
So think about
Gavin.
the last mile and the first mile and last mile tax credit we have offered, for example, or the one for critical mineral. Well, if you do these kind of things, you're enabling obviously private investment. I would say Canada will be the most competitive jurisdiction on a tax basis, probably of the OECD. And then you would catalyze it by the province, by the municipality, and obviously first and foremost the private sector. So this is really to supercharge growth. You know, you've seen the super deduction we've done for people who want to invest in plant and equipment, in technology and building. I mean, we're addressing the productivity and competitiveness challenge that this country has been facing for a very long time. So that's why I think this is an investment budget.
You totally can. See, and here she's listening.
She
was listening to Andrew Scheer just as much, but it was from a position of like, don't, like you're gonna grab
invest and to provide the incentives
in
order
your brain,
for the private sector to bring and to have these investments in our country.
And I do take that point, but I am, you know, I would say my impression after going through the budget is the pitch is we have to spend this much. I know you're going to say invest, but you're spending money, you're spending taxpayer money in order to garner a significant growth in the return.
Sorry, I'm going to say one more thing. We'll actually watch this. But she does it here too because she's establishing.
After going through the budget is the pitch is we have to spend this much. I know you're going to say invest, but
she's establishing that she's in control of the conversation. Andrew Scheer kept trying to be in control.
Spending money, you're spending taxpayer money in order to garner a significant growth in the return on investment. And my question to you is like, how do you know that return will come? And I put to you with great respect, you were the ministry who oversaw decisions to put a ton of taxpayer money into the EV sector that is now blowing up in all our faces.
Well, I mean, don't take it from me, take it from the International Monetary Fund. We first said the two countries of the G7 and in the world that stand out is Canada and Germany. And secondly, they said, well, smart economies that have the fiscal capacity. And when I say it's generational, what we've done in Canada compares very well to what Germany has been doing, which is the largest economy in Europe and their generational infrastructure plan that you've seen. And what the International Monetary Fund said is that countries should be investing in infrastructure, in housing and productivity, because that's where you have the greatest multiplier. So obviously, when you make these investments, you know the multipliers, and you can see the impact on the economy. And that's why I say this is the kind of thing we needed to do in this country. People understand at home we have some headwinds. The world has changed. We live in a very different world. And
yeah, Neuropunk, that's completely Jared. Yeah, I'm a keen observer of body language. I don't know if this is 100% it, but I worked with a lot of special needs kids, and when kids, especially nonverbal, and when you have a little kiddo that's 6-7 years old and they're completely nonverbal, they're only going to tell you things through their body language, right? Now some of their body language obviously is not all accurate. But yeah, Scheer also looks aggressive because he didn't believe what he was saying. Yeah, exactly. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's leaning forward a little bit. He's ready for the questions. He may not have the quote-unquote right answers, but he has an answer.
The way forward for us, and I know you would want to use the word spending, but folks at home understand. When you go to the grocery store, you spend. When you buy a house, you invest. For government, it's about the same. We need to. Down. That's why we did the tough exercise of finding 60 billion, because we say we need to spend less to invest more. Put our house in order. Canadians have been doing it.
He did palms down, then immediately backed up again. He wasn't reaching for her.
At home, they've been tightening their belt. We did the
Palms
same.
up.
But now it's the time to grow the economy, invest in housing, in our defense and our sovereignty.
And I do have questions about those savings. But as you speak, it reminds me so clearly of a message you delivered as a different kind of minister under a different prime minister, but from the same party. When over and over the refrain from your government at the time was confident Canadians invest in themselves. And the promise was also for economic growth. Instead, what happened on a per capita basis is that GDP declined by 2.5% below pre-pandemic levels over the last 5 years. Liberals were not able to deliver on the promise that you're making tonight. Why is this time any different?
But in fairness, Vashi.
See, again, he's responding and he's arguing with her, but she's not leaning back. She's listening. Your tone of voice is almost completely made by
In fairness, the world has changed. I mean, people don't understand at home. The scope, speed, and scale of the change, I wish you would be at the G7 with me. When we sit together, we say what we're seeing today is unprecedented, probably since 1945. So you can compare a period before the world changed, when our largest trading partner decided to change the rules of the game, not only for Canada, but for the world. You know, pretty much every country in the world.
I understand.
So the world has changed so significantly.
But
Like you can compare these two periods. Like if you,
but really, because you're saying the exact same things. We need to invest in ourselves in order to get a return on the investment, and you're guaranteeing that will come when it never did before.
well, I would say if you look at the things where you invest, and don't take it from me, go back to the International Monetary Fund, what they say. You don't need to take it
You're
from
the
me.
minister, though. I want to take it from you. Canadians are looking to you for
listen,
answers.
I've been saying it very loud and clear. If you invest in infrastructure, if you invest in housing, if you invest in productivity and competitiveness, that's the way to grow the economy. And by making these investments, that's how we can make sure. That's what we say. Our investment will enable $1 trillion of investment, because if we're, my example of the mine, if you have, because of the
like, hey, you're the Minister of Finance, so maybe you should have an answer to this question.
incentive, the private sector investing, municipalities will be building a community around the province. Think about the Ring of Fire will come and will do their part. That's the kind of thing we need in this country. So we are investing in the type of things that will make Canada stronger. We have the fiscal capacity. There's only about 2 countries which in the G7 people would recognize to say have the capacity.
Liberals love their structure and their what's the word that Steve always used? Like this person's in charge and then this person and this one person. Nonverbal kiddos is part of your specialty. Nice. It was just the kids that I end up working with. I'm always extremely suspicious of body language because I've seen it so often to make absolutely insane claims. Yep. Extremely distressful after seeing how it's been used by police. Hierarchy. Thank you. Yeah, that's totally valid, Pro King, and I'm not saying that, I'm not claiming that they're lying or being distrustful. I can just read, like, you could see in her body language, she's, like, leaning back away from him. They're like advisors, yeah. So I totally get what you're saying. I watched a lot of police interviews, and you are absolutely right. They claim a lot of things in body language that they may entirely be making up. Persons with influence, they are trying to cover something up, or they're telling the truth, but they're freaking out. I completely agree. This is just a small thing that I'm observing as she's interviewing, because I've seen he's I don't know, he gives off weird vibes. Anyway.
And so we're taking that fiscal capacity to make sure we grow the economy. And by growing the economy, that's how you protect jobs. That's why you have the future. My message to people at home, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. It's a tough world. It's very different. You and I have lived different crises, but this one is like we've not had seen in a long time, but we're going to be okay because we've put our finance in order. We have the fiscal capacity. We're going to invest smartly. At the same time, we'll reduce our operating expenses.
Yeah, Paul
So you
that's
flagged, for,
accurate.
as an example, mines, right, in the Ring of Fire, and that's and critical minerals, all part of the energy sector. What we had heard from that sector, loud and clear, heading into this budget process, was in order to spur growth of the sector, they would need to see things that they've identified as irritants removed. You have, in this budget, signaled, not said for sure, but signaled that the emissions cap will be removed. You haven't actually repealed it. But what about other stuff? What about the tanker ban? What about C-69? If you truly wanted to catalyze private investment and economic growth in the energy sector, why are you only bringing about half measures to do it?
Well, look at the major project office. Look at LNG Canada 2. Look at the project we have selected. Look at the Port of
Pro King, I'm not challenging what you said because I completely agree with you. But what is it about Scheer that gives off weird vibes? I'm genuinely curious what you see. For me, it's the way that he like reaches when he talks. It's the way that he like goes, well, like the condescending nature. I'm just curious what you observe. Not arguing, just genuinely curious.
Montreal expansion. I mean, we may not talk to the same people, but when I talked to the CEOs, they were very happy about what they saw because they understand that now we're making that shift towards growth. We're having the major project office. We are now, if you look at the marginal effective tax rate, which is really not what necessarily people at home would look, but if you're a chief financial officer of a company, what you're looking is how much is the tax rate. Canada is more competitive than the Americans now. Imagine. So you're talking to a company, and most Canadian companies have operation on both sides of the border. Today, with this budget, Canada is more competitive than investing in the United States. That's a huge thing, because when people have a choice, they will decide where we are competitive. So we are more competitive on the tax side. We have put a number of measures for critical minerals. We're going to power the economy of the 21st century. When it comes to major project, we said, one project, one review.
Paul
we're going to do
we're
better.
Gonna not make
and
claims
those
about,
that I've talked to would say, Minister, we've been listening to the business community.
Words. We're not going to make comments like that. I am very conscious of not making comparisons to people who have mental health disorders or claiming that someone has a mental health disorder. That's just one of the things that we don't do in this particular community.
We've been listening to investors who say, what would you need to make Canada the place to invest? And honestly, with the measures we have in the budget today, on the tax side, on the tax credit, think about the super deduction.
With respect to Minister, are you talking to the conventional energy players in this country who have felt as though their ability to expand has been greatly hindered by the policies that your government, the previous government, put in place? There is an acknowledgement of that in here in the removal of, or the intended removal, not explicit removal, intended removal of the emissions cap. But
ooh, that's a really good one, PCH. It's the half smirk when he talks. Yeah, like his face hasn't fully decided whether or not he's going to tell the truth. Never feels like he's operating in good faith. Nope, you're good, Paul W. I appreciate the apology. All good, friend.
Beyond that, if you were truly serious about supercharging the conventional energy sector, making us an energy superpower, why would you not do more in that vein? That wouldn't cost taxpayers anything.
Well, listen, it's already a lot. I mean, look at, we're going to be more competitive than the United States. That's a shift that we've not seen in a long time. And this is even after
you
the big, beautiful
thing. You think that's going to get a pipeline built?
Well, I would say this is going to make the investment in Canada, if people have a choice, they're looking at these type of things. And when you talk to the sector, I mean, I don't know, we may have talked to different people, but when I talk to the CEOs in the sector, they've seen what Canada's doing. They see the major project office. They see that we're serious. They've seen the tax credit. They've seen the approach
Gavin,
we're taking to make sure that
seems
we
like he's trying
a
to be
global energy
sneaky or
superpower. Look at
condescending.
LNG Canada too.
No,
Canada
I don't like
will be one of the country in the
that
world.
has been in development for 10 years. With all due respect, it was put on the major projects list because it's just needs to get over the finish line.
But we should be happy.
I'm not
you should be happy. I mean, there's something to be happy in the budget.
There's potential for another oil pipeline. My question to you is whether what you're doing is going to incentivize
Well, I would say when you are the most competitive tax jurisdiction, when you compare to the U.S., that is incentive that people will look at. We've talked to the people in the sector, and I would say we should really look at what we've done for Canada. This is a generational shift. We're taking steps that are going to make Canada look very different, provide prosperity, provide jobs, provide growth, and at the same time, we're doing the smart thing that we need to do for a long time, and the time is to do it now. And so that's why I think if you look on the tax side, I'm very, very confident because compare that to the United States. That's what you need to do, Vashi, because you have to compare what we do to the U.S.
The amount of conventional energy investment in the United States has been going at a rate that far exceeds anything that's being happening in Canada. I take your point. You think it's going to change? Okay.
You think it's going to change? Good for her. I got your point. You think it's going to change? Okay.
I hope for the
Give
best.
me a chance.
One final question, if you don't mind, Minister. I know your time is limited, and I do want to ask on behalf of Canadians who are listening tonight, and
Yes,
listening
Lucky,
to
you're
your
correct.
points about how what you've done in this budget is intended to spur economic growth over the mid to long term, and wondering why isn't there something in this to help me pay for $12 berries tomorrow, to help me pay for groceries that have increased by 30%, for example, over the last 5 years. I'm old enough to remember not too long ago when you were the Minister of Industry, you said we're going to get those prices down. That didn't materialize. Why isn't there more in this budget to address the immediate affordability needs of Canadians?
Well, that's the first thing we did, was to reduce taxes for 22 million Canadians.
Yeah, I know
they're
your
still
time is
hurting.
limited.
Well, and that's why we need more affordability measure. But one of the
Why
main
aren't they in the budget?
Well, there's one which it calls about building Canada homes, because if you can build more affordable housing in the country, you're making
No, it really
you're making that more affordable for Canadians. So there are a number of things in the budget to make life more affordable for Canadians. Affordability of homes is one of the most concerning thing across the nation, and we're acting on that. So I would say, if you're a Canadian today, look at the measures we've put, for example, for workers.
Yeah, see, she's not asking about buying a house. She's asking about going tomorrow to get a thing of raspberries.
That have been affected, because you say, if you look at the
He doesn't
trade
have
in
the
the
upper
United
hand
States, if
here.
you're a
He
steel
definitely
worker
doesn't.
today,
Why
or
are
if
you
you're in
sorry?
the lumber
You're good.
industry, if you're the color, these things have been hurting. And when you refer to the deficit,
all good,
75% of what
Neuropunk.
we did this year was for our sovereignty or affordability. Look at
I
the
guess I'll
measure
go buy a
in the
house for
budget. You
dinner.
mentioned you started with the deficit, but if you look at it, a good part of that was really to make life more affordable for Canadians, and making sure that we take steps to make life more affordable, to protect our workers, to support our industry, to pivot our industry. So I would say Canadians will recognize themselves in this budget, and it's really a turning point for Canada, where we make sure that our
Neuropunk, you're in good company here, friend. Don't apologize. You're good. Unless you are actively making fun of somebody for something they can't change or calling people names, talk about what you want to talk about. There's no, we're not judging you here.
borrowing is to support growth. And
Pop my
that's what
culture,
we're going to
yeah.
be doing on a going forward basis.
The NDP wants post-budget negotiations. Will you provide that?
Well, I think that the Canadians have heard, and there's so many measures there. I mean, even the Canadian Labour Congress came out and said this budget.
I'm just asking, are you willing to negotiate after with them? They're
saying,
saying
listen to the Canadian Labour Congress, which said, thanks God, this government have put workers at the heart of their economic strategy. That's pretty convincing to me.
Hates us
It's
here,
not
babe.
me saying
Is that a
it,
yes or a no?
Well, you should ask them. I'm sure they're going to come
I-
on their show. I come all the time.
I
You
just
invite
got the
me. Maybe they'll
notification.
come.
Okay, we hope to see you again soon. Minister,
It's
a
always a
pleasure as
pleasure.
always. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Federal Finance Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne, fresh off, of course, delivering the federal.
Ooh, Pro King. I've been trying to explain why he gives bad vibes for the last several minutes, but I don't know if I can again. Yeah, that's fair. He presents himself, comes together. So the best way I can put it is that he knows what he's saying is a lie, and that's half the point. That's fair. You know, outside of his body language, the way that he talks conveys that, right? He's either talking down to someone or trying to gain control of the conversation, even if he has no idea what he's talking about. That's fair. That's an accurate way of putting it too.
Budget in the House of Commons. We are going to continue to have a ton of reaction.
Yeah, he was fairly fighty. He's got some energy. Friends, we've been going for about an hour. I'm gonna go. Puppy says yes. I'm gonna go run and get myself some pizza, and then we're gonna watch some Elizabeth May reactions. So, be back in a couple minutes. I think I'm back. I think. I'm gonna let my OBS just sort of chill for a minute. Can you guys do me a really fun favor? We're gonna do something a little bit different for a minute. If you are on Twitch, we're not leaving the stream. We're just gonna we're gonna see if we can make Rachel Gilmore think that she has some sort of plots. So if you guys, I'm just gonna leave it like this. I'm gonna pull her stream up so we can look at it. And if you guys can just copy and paste this into her Twitch chat for a minute, I'll here's her Twitch. Then I'm just gonna let my computer and my OBS chill for a minute before I play some other videos. If you guys can go do that, that would be super fun. Yeah? Ads. Okay. I'll do it in a minute. Sorry.
Yeah, but she has said that she's open to changing her mind on the bill if it does change in the next 4 days. Because, and it's not like 4 calendar days, as in like on whatever, what's 4 days from now, like Saturday. It's not a situation where like that's when they vote on the budget. There are scheduled days, 4 scheduled days. I feel like this is, I'm so surprised there's so many of you here because I feel like this is probably really boring. But there are 4 scheduled days on the parliamentary calendar when they will be debating the budget bill. So the vote that will decide whether or not you and I have an election for Christmas is going to be happening after those 4 debate days. So Elizabeth May is saying that over those 4 scheduled days, her mind could change about the bill if the bill itself changes, but as it is written now, she's not going to support it. The Conservatives have said they can't support it. The Bloc has said they can't
caught her in the middle of a rant.
That leaves the NDP holding the bag. But again, as I started off with, that
Everyone
is
do
not
it one
just
more
on
time,
them. That is on
and then we'll go back. I think my
every
computer's
person,
caught up, and
including
we
the
can watch
government,
other
that had a responsibility
the rest of our
to
videos.
work with opposition MPs to craft a budget bill that somebody else could support. So, yeah. And the NDP has left the door open to supporting it. My money, like if I were betting on this, which apparently you can bet on everything now, but I don't, you shouldn't, it's not good. But if I were betting, I would say the NDP is going to have abstentions. That's what I would say. Yeah, Dan Harris, who is Dan, your previous NDP MP, correct? And like worked for the NDP for a while, and still do. Says, as bad as things are for the NDP, this is in the Twitch comments, why would they vote for it? And that's exactly the flip side of it, right? Like there's all these people who are like, oh, if the NDP puts us into an election, it is correct for Scarborough South. Yeah, Dan. Okay, so Dan in the Twitch chat, I'm like simultaneously streaming on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. But Dan Harris, who's in the Twitch chat, is former MP for Scarborough Southwest, which was Bill Blair's riding. And yeah, basically, yeah, there's so much more in the budget for the Conservatives than the NDP, which is like, again, it's so Mark Carney, like, to do that, but also so fucking stupid because the Conservatives literally, like, almost never support the government's bill. I think I heard, I can't remember who was giving this stat, but the last person to vote for a government bill was like Stephen Harper voted for a budget bill from Paul Martin or something. But anyway,
all right, Her
They're
chat
not
is
gonna
very
support the budget.
confused.
So why did they
If
craft
you
the
can
budget
still
in
hear
such
me,
a way that it would appeal way more to the Conservatives than the NDP, who is their most...
Yeah. If you can hear me, put it.
I keep getting distracted by comments. I'm sorry.
Put it in the comments one more time.
What was I saying?
One more, yeah? And then we'll back out and let her finish up her stream.
So to me, it kind of shows like a lot of hubris from Mark Carney that he was like, somebody's going to support me. We're not going to go into an election. He didn't write the budget. Like a lot of the analysts were saying, yeah, I do think it's an arrogant approach, but that's very much the personality that Mark Carney has. That's what we keep hearing about him, is that behind the scenes, he's an incredibly like arrogant, overconfident man who is very smart, but who also thinks he's the smartest person in every room. That seems to be the overall take. So, yeah, basically, like I think it was just like kind of hubris. I think that they thought, oh, we only need to get 2, we'll get 2, and maybe they will. Maybe there'll be 2 more floor crossers, for example. Maybe they'll get the. I do think the NDP will abstain because I don't think they want an election, but. What do they have to lose? As Dan said, like they're already so like broken down. They lost.
I'm just
party
trying to
status,
make
and
sure
a
my
lot of
computer is catching up.
progressives Who like I think that this is the
We're
thing
just
that
saying
Mark
hi
Carney
in Rachel's
is
comments for a
forgetting,
minute.
Is like while he pulled a lot of like while he had that coalescence of support because people didn't want Poilievre, he had that.
No, it's all good. We're still
because
here.
Of the collapse of the NDP and because of Quebec. And those are 2, like generally, in a lot of ways, progressive voting blocks. And like,
also
there's
just trying to
obviously
finish my
some
supper.
very conservative areas in Quebec too. But in a broad sense, like so much of what pushed him over the edge and gave him this almost majority was from progressives who like swallowed their pride and voted for a Liberal instead of an NDP, or maybe they're a sovereigntist who's progressive and didn't want Poilievre, but they swallowed their sovereigntist beliefs and voted for Liberals instead of Bloc. And that was...
Dude is good.
And now he's like alienating those people by...
All right. Rachel's got her own thing going on. We'll let her finish up her stream. And we will switch back over and listen to Elizabeth May for a minute.
Bonjour tout le monde. Journée de Bouger. Bonjour and hello everyone. That's Leader of the Green Party of Canada, Elizabeth May. I'm very, very happy to be joined by Mike Morris, former Member of Parliament for Kitchener Centre and future Member of Parliament for Kitchener Centre. But we don't want an election right away.
But we don't want. No worries, Elephant.
De Bouger de 2025.
Hold on. Not have. Oh, the moment. She's usually got funds. Yeah, she's always dressed really neat. I like her. Do we not have captions? That's really disappointing when they do that.
De Bouger. Bonjour and hello everyone. That's Leader of the Green Party of Canada, Elizabeth May. I'm very, very happy to be joined by Mike Morris, former Member of Parliament for Kitchener Centre and future Member of Parliament for Kitchener Centre. But we don't want an election right away. Nous avons lu le budget de 2025. Je suis tellement déçue parce que j'ai mes espoirs pour les choses plus bonnes que ça. Le Premier ministre a dit que les Canadiens doivent faire les sacrifices. Mais dans ce budget, il y a quelqu'un qui gagne et quelqu'un qui perd. And we identified as we read it, this budget is not about even sacrifices across our country. They're generational sacrifices. My grandchildren lose. This government has decided not even to mention our legally binding Paris targets and has jettisoned most climate programs, including the oil and gas cap. The climate competitiveness strategy, so-called, will create large winners in the corporate sector and create more subsidies for fossil fuels. We cut assistance to the poorest of the poor in the developing world. We do have some good things which we identify in our press release, but let me turn it over to Mike for his comments.
Thank you, Elizabeth. As you heard from Elizabeth, in this budget, there are sacrifices, as the Prime Minister made clear there would be. but those sacrifices are not evenly felt. There are $56 billion in cuts to public services that folks in my community and Canadians across the country rely on. Programs like the Greener Homes program that helps
like
folks
to
retrofit their homes
the
and save money on their energy bills. Cuts to a dedicated public transit fund. Cuts to planned expansions of pharmacare. What we don't see is the other option of how we could fund generational investments. We don't see new taxes on the billionaire class. We don't see fossil fuel companies who continue to make off like bandits. $30 billion in subsidies they got last year, they're getting a bit more in this budget again. And for that, we are disappointed. We're going to continue to call for more and better.
I want to make it clear that I am specifically asking the Prime Minister to think about the fact that he's not the CEO of a company called Canada. He's the Prime Minister of this country with a minority government. Now is the time to reach out to those of us in opposition parties who could vote for the budget if in negotiations over the next few days we see changes. That's a possibility. It's a real possibility.
She's very
the
right.
vote
You're
will
right.
be very tight. When we crunch the numbers, it's too close for comfort. And this is the time for a Prime Minister, and I really ask him personally to meet, to sit down and talk and find the changes that could be made to where we could cast our one vote in favor of the budget. But that moment is not now. Ce n'est pas possible pour se bouger actuellement de gagner le vote des Verts. Maintenant, c'est impossible. Mais peut-être avec les négociations, il sera possible.
Which I believe
Mais,
is
c'est pour le Premier ministre de décider.
where the NDP are as well.
besoin pour voter pour ce budget.
C'est essentiel d'avoir les programmes qui aident les pauvres, qui aident les personnes dans la classe moyenne pour réduire les coûts d'énergie avec les programmes, comme Mike a dit, les programmes de Greener Homes, c'est le nom en anglais, mais c'est maintenant terminé et mort. Aussi, il n'y a pas les programmes dans le budget pour réduire les coûts d'énergie avec il parle de l'importance d'un projet de significance nationale pour l'électricité Est, Ouest et Sud et Nord, mais ce n'est pas un programme avec une approche claire. So they talk about an East-West electricity grid as a good thing, but there's no programming in this budget to make it happen. You have to bring the provinces together. There's nothing in this budget for nature.
Absolutely.
The entire commitment from Montreal Kunming to 30 by 30 isn't mentioned. So c'est dans le COP 15 à Montréal pour protéger la nature. C'est un grand succès pour le Canada comme hôte avec le gouvernement de Chine. Mais dans ce budget, il n'est mentionné pas du tout. Il n'y a pas seule mention des poissons ni de salmon. Et pour les droits des autochtones, il n'y a pas mention pour les programmes comme les gardiens autochtones pour protéger la nature. We see things that I thought would be in there that aren't. Is a long list of good things. The funding for CBC is good to see. It's good to see a program that's going to put money in the hands of municipal governments for local infrastructure. But to eliminate the public transit program for urban areas is really a shock.
Vous avez rencontré M. Carney il y a quelques semaines. Est-ce que l'impression que ça vous donne, c'est qu'il ne vous a pas écouté?
Oui, nous n'avons pas une discussion. C'est un peu bizarre quand on pense que la réalité que nous avons rencontrée le 2e octobre, mais au sujet du budget, mais il n'a pas une seule fois demandé à moi qu'est-ce que je veux voir dans le budget pour gagner mon vote. Pas du tout. Nous avons une conversation à un niveau un peu plus haut, les questions pour l'avenir du Canada, mais pas les questions avec les
Canada
chiffres,
forever.
avec
That's all they
l'idée
got.
où est la possibilité pour un Canada plus vert et aussi plus riche. Ce n'est pas une conversation que nous avons eue, peut-être maintenant.
Mais est-ce que vous vous inquiétez? On entend que M. Chris d'Entremont, chez les conservateurs,
considère de traverser le plancher de la Chambre et joindre les libéraux, il y aurait d'autres conservateurs qui y songeraient. Est-ce que vous craignez que ce gouvernement-là minoritaire devienne majoritaire et que ça réduise le poids des
J'ai aucune idée qu'il y a les conservateurs qui pensaient de traverser le paquette. Mais Chris D'Entremont est quelqu'un, j'ai beaucoup de respect pour lui parce que dans le gouvernement de Nouvelle-Écosse, il est un membre de le Parti progressif conservateur et il est l'ancien ministre d'Environnement dans la province de Nouvelle-Écosse. Il a fait les bonnes choses pour l'environnement, mais il va joindre les Verts s'il y a les cancers environnementaux, parce que ce budget, c'est plus, je pense que c'est plus proche à l'idée de M. Poilievre et les partis conservatifs que pour les gouvernements libéraux, mais aussi le budget est aussi très proche à un budget que ce n'est pas un grand choc si c'était le budget de M. Poilievre. Il n'y a pas de grand changement dans l'idée. Qu'est-ce que c'est le Parti libéral? C'est un parti tout à fait différent avec les subventions pour l'énergie fossile plus grand et en même temps pour réduire les programmes pour protéger le climat.
Chris D'Entremont in English succinctly, if you would, please.
What, beg your pardon?
What you were just saying in French, we need that succinctly on Chris D'Entremont.
Succinctly, Chris D'Entremont served the Nova Scotia government as a progressive conservative. He was Minister of Environment in Nova Scotia and made some very good decisions. I have a lot of respect for him. I'd like him to join the Green Party if he's going to cross the floor.
Good for her.
Vote no on the budget.
Absolutely. There's no way that we can, as Greens, vote yes on this budget. But I want to emphasize there are several days in which this budget can be negotiated and amended before it goes to a vote. And that's something that doesn't get discussed much. I am surprised that Mr. Carney has not reached out, or that more of his ministers haven't reached out to say, what would it take to get Greens to vote for this budget? In the same way I hear from friends in the New Democratic Party, they haven't felt that there's been an effort to get us on side early on. So we are now in a position...
Yeah, that's a problem. If Carney is counting on... Thank you, Faya, though, for doing that a little bit. Even just like a general, like, they're asking about this, she's answering like this. I really, really, really appreciate it. Yeah. She'd be great. I really, really wanted to see her as Speaker of the House. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that would have been... She's been around Parliament long enough. She knows all the rules. It would have been great. But yeah, if Carney is just going to count on more conservatives crossing the floor, that's a bit of a dangerous
where I think every vote's going to matter.
Thing to stake this budget on.
Every vote's going to count, and I would invite the Prime Minister, and I've sent this message through the officials who were with us in the lockup. Please let them know I'd like to talk, because there's some things that could be done that would make it possible for us to vote for this budget. Nous sommes en groupe avec mon cabinet fantôme, avec Mike, puis aussi avec le critique finance, le critique pour les petites entreprises. Nous sommes ensemble avec les mêmes réactions. C'est pas possible. I kept going back and saying, are you sure?
And there are definitely people that have talked about crossing the floor, but that is a huge thing to stake your budget on.
Nous sommes ensemble avec les mêmes réactions. C'est pas possible. I kept going back and saying, are you sure? Maybe I can vote for it. What do you think? We kept going back over it, reading sections and saying, c'est pas possible de voter en faveur de ce budget actuellement. Mais avec les changements, peut-être.
He did have that meeting with you on October 2nd.
Yes.
But you're saying that didn't feel like a serious attempt at figuring out what you want to see in the budget?
Well, he never asked. And he didn't say, would you vote for our budget if it had these things in it? And I did suggest things that would make a real difference to Greens, to see us, for instance, go after wealth tax, to see an increase in government revenues. I mean, the deficit's quite large. For us, that's not a red line issue. You have to invest. There's investments here, for instance, in high-speed rail. Those are good. But there's not enough investment in a greener Canada. There's a very large deficit, and we pointed him to ways that you can increase the available revenue. Ideas that we already had costed by the Parliamentary Budget Office.
Siege, you get the cute yellow cup now because you've been on for 3 months. Yeah, she's very good at flipping back and forth. Holy smokes.
not included, but the deep cuts in public services, deep cuts that will be felt in pain for years. And a lot of the time, the language in this budget is very management consultant language. We're going to modernize this and recalibrate that. And you start reading it and thinking, okay, so that's getting cut, that's gone. It's not a budget we can vote for. I know I'm talking too much, Mike. You want to throw in some more thoughts?
Matthew, to your question, by the time the Prime Minister reached out to Elizabeth, he'd already made clear it was an austerity budget full of sacrifices. And then when we read it today, it was clear that who those sacrifices were for and who they weren't for. We were clear in calling out the need for wealth tax in this country. Instead, we see $56 billion of cuts to public services that folks in our communities rely on.
I'd vote for you, Ninja.
And
I think that leads to the conclusion that Elizabeth shared.
And I was also shocked to see
I love her.
in one of the things that
I'm going to let him speak, but actually, no, I got something else to say.
stressed the Prime Minister. So it was with Donald Trump withdrawing from the world and the U.S. withdrawing and killing the USAID program. In a time when the world is in turmoil, I believe the world needs more Canada. I think we should step up and do more in peacekeeping and more in helping for world health issues where the U.S. government's decision-making is going to cause an increase in HIV/AIDS, an increase in polio, an increase in deaths from malaria. We could stand up and start filling that space, and instead we're retreating. We're putting less money into overseas development assistance and more money into our military, which we support up to a point. But this is the question of why would we throw, in the same week that the Prime Minister said we're going to have to make sacrifices, they announced a $2 billion gift to the Darlington project, which they've already put on the fast track C5 list. You need to know that that project, while owned by OPG, the companies that will benefit are General Electric and Hitachi and Kiewit Engineering from the United States and some Canadian engineering, of course, our old friends Atkins Realis, formerly known as SNC-Lavalin, and Aiken. But this is for a project that may never generate a single kilowatt of electricity because it's an experimental prototype that we don't have a single operating small modular reactor anywhere in any democracy in the world generating electricity. And yet to casually throw $2 billion to it when they've just said Canadians will have to sacrifice? Why do young Canadians have to sacrifice, and why does the next generation have to bear the brunt of our government today deciding in 2025 that our oil and gas cap is off, that we're not even going to mention that we're legally bound under the Paris Agreement to reduce emissions? It's not even mentioned in this budget.
What do you think of the Liberals actively courting Conservatives to cross the aisle?
Well, good question. They don't have enough votes.
To jump on that, considering that they're doing that across the aisle and everything you've described about their approach to negotiations, I'll put in air quotes, towards it, do you have any confidence that Prime Minister Carney and the Liberals have any interest in negotiating with any of the other parties if they don't have the votes, that they're willing to take it or leave it and sort of walk away if you
Well, I think put that question to Prime Minister Carney and to Finance Minister Champagne. We try to be constructive as Greens. We don't want to take partisan shots. That's why
she really doesn't.
Tell them I'm
She's
speaking
so
about Chris
great.
Dantois. Most of the people in that house are friends of mine. I don't agree with many of them on policy choices, but we're open to having a conversation. It's too important to stick to our legally binding commitments than just to say, oh, okay, it became inconvenient to have a home energy retrofit program that worked extremely well, so well that it was oversubscribed. It's really effective in reducing greenhouse gases, putting people to work in installing the insulation and the things that you do that save money and make sense and reduce carbon are abundant. It's still the low-hanging fruit. And we're trampling over the low-hanging fruit to chase pipe dreams of new technologies that are super expensive and take a very long time to produce nothing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, merci.
How long has she been in Parliament for? Ah, yes, let's see your power stance, sir.
Bien, bonjour. Écoutez, le résumé est assez...
Okay, I'm going to quickly see if there's any sort of, I don't think there's going to be any
tellement
French
déçu.
translation.
Seul avant que M. Trump, il y a beaucoup de zones d'ombre qui viennent de la population about elders, about healthcare transfer. On peut quand même parler de dossiers précis.
It sounds like you're leaning toward voting no on this budget. Can you explain why?
You have a very good perspective on things. Where did you get that?
No. That's totally fine, Faya. We're going to go through his English questions.
I
and we'll be
hardly
good.
see how, after having met with our caucus tonight, we could vote in favor of this budget. Those $78 billion of deficit,
You've sweeping the
whatever
Christmas election.
tricks they want to invent. There's nothing.
If you guys want to translate some, that's great. I'm absolutely not asking you to. All good. I just wanted to get a general sense of where they stand.
What we did ask in the budget.
This is
and
pretty
I
clear.
must tell you that what the Bloc Québécois asked in order to maybe support the budget about elders, about healthcare transfers, about what we did ask, but one thing that was not given to Quebecers and given to everybody else would have been good for all Canadians, not only Quebecers. Still, the answer is no.
I do love him.
This is a red conservative budget,
It is.
which Mr. Harper might have signed.
Oh, he also does not mince words. I like him a lot.
And there's nothing for Quebecers in there. Absolutely nothing. We did ask what was basically the object of a large consensus within the population of Quebec. And the answer from a Quebecer, Mr. Champagne, is blunt. No.
Liberals are trying to approach anyone from your party to cross the floor?
I'd be quite surprised. You know.
The immediate laugh.
We are about as close to liberals as Quebec is from New Zealand.
I just love the two of them behind. The second that question was asked.
Liberals are trying to approach anyone from your party to cross the floor?
I'd be quite surprised. You know.
Like, instant, like,
it's
not happening.
We are about as close to liberals as Quebec is from New Zealand. It's the other side of the world.
Blanchet, les députés bloquistes vont-ils rester bloquistes? On pourrait être courtisé par les libéraux comme on cherche à le faire avec les conservateurs?
J'ai envie de vous dire, regardez, vous allez être très très déçus si vous imaginez qu'un député bloquiste va décider de s'acheter une chemise rouge. Alors, non, les députés bloquistes vont être 22 à voter de la même façon au moment où on devra voter sur le budget. Je n'ai aucun doute à cet égard-là. On comprend la manœuvre des libéraux. Ils ont voulu faire un budget conservateur.
L'idée d'un gouvernement Carney potentiellement majoritaire conservateur.
J'étais à l'Assemblée nationale contre cette pratique. Le mandat qu'on m'a donné, c'est sur le parti est une...
Goodbye. Hi. I like him. He's, I will be completely honest, I know very little about the Bloc Québécois as a party, but just as a human being, I like him. Doorstream. He is a class act. He very much is. Doorstream. So this is earlier when people were like, why are you guys talking about doors? This is what we used to do all the time, waiting for comments after the last budget was announced. We just sit here with the reporters and wait for more people to show. One of the reasons Mr. Blanchet is able to act in the way is so... Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about appealing. That's absolutely correct. Yeah. No dorm. They're still there. They're just under Steve's dream thing still. A very handsome door, yes. Alright, who else do they have here? Oh my goodness, they sit here for a while.
Young people were 1 in 6. Young people is out of work, and many more than that.
They're very progressive environmentally and fiscally and conservative socially. Yeah, I can see that. They kind of already saw his
Are
opinion,
underemployed. Economic growth is weak, and of course we face serious problems from south of the border.
Man! Sure, I can add those into the stream notes too. It is your art. You are correct. Words. Can you imagine? Just picture in your head right now. Tony. What's his last name? Oh no, brain. What's his last name? Oh my goodness. McQuail. Can you just picture for a second Tony McQuail standing right here with his cowboy hat and his jeans and them asking him questions about a budget? Like, I am so excited about this NDP election. Regardless of who wins, regardless of who, has better platforms and does better things, I appreciate what Don Davies is trying to do, and he is standing as the leader of a party that has fallen apart, essentially. But man, he's hard to listen to.
So it is in that context that we're evaluating this budget today.
Like, Ave Lewis would be like yelling.
I can tell you that New Democrats are going to take the time to study this budget. We're going to consult with stakeholders. We're going to talk to Canadians, particularly working Canadians, and review this budget to see if this budget passes our lens of whether it works for working Canadians.
Will you be whipping your caucus on a vote, or will this be a free vote?
Traditionally on confidence.
Imagine that union guy talking about the budget. I know. I want to see Ashton go toe-to-toe with Poilievre. I absolutely agree. Rob Ashton against Pierre Poilievre, he would tear him apart. If they can push this budget through, and regardless of anything else, push the budget through, and get this NDP election underway, and maybe in the spring budget or the next budget, we trigger another election. I want to see a debate with Rob Ashton versus Pierre Poilievre. That would heal something in me as well, I think, Neuropunk.
It measures parties vote along party lines. So that's the tradition of our party. I wouldn't expect it to be any different.
Absolutely, but was there anything...
Thanks, Jared, for coming. We're almost done the politics portion of this stream.
Any red line there in the budget?
I appreciate you
showing
showing
up.
up.
You seen that it disqualifies you? It's still...
Yeah, if Poilievre even lasts that long. Yeah, that's
early
fair.
stages, but it seems like you're saying we need time to digest it, so there isn't an immediate red line that you said that would disqualify you guys from supporting it.
That's an excellent question, and one of the reasons I opened up with the serious problems
Yes, absolutely. All of them should be there in the House.
we're
Absolutely.
facing is that there's complex issues.
I don't want McPherson. I don't think I can handle a whole federal election of table slogan. Yeah, I couldn't either.
That are facing us, and I don't think that we can oversimplify whether policies are going to respond or not. So I'll tell you a few things that we like about the budget. There's $51 billion in infrastructure spending, and that's...
We did hear this from him already. I think he's the last person.
How are you feeling potentially heading into a Christmas election? Would you feel confident?
Good question.
I think our message is getting through. New Democrats and...
That was a straight up no.
I think our message is getting through. New Democrats and I in particular, since I was appointed leader in May, have made it my number one priority to reconnect with the working class in this country. And I've been dogged on that. We want to be the voice of working people. It's why our party was formed in 1961.
I don't even want to think. I went through Eve Engler's Blue Sky stuff in preparation for this live today, and I couldn't even get through it. It's so bad.
By working people, for working people. That is our explicit raison d'etre, and I'm glad to see that message is getting through, and I think that trend will continue.
Do you see it as a negative sign that the Carney government has yet to condemn Alberta for using the notwithstanding clause to force 51,000 striking teachers back to work?
Yes.
Well, we're the Party of Labour, and I don't like or support any government ordering legally striking workers back to work. And it's been I think a very, very discouraging and frankly,
when is the NDP leadership happening? In January.
Inappropriate act by the Carney government Liberals to continue to force legally striking workers back to work when it's their constitutional right to strike.
Heck yes.
So, yeah, I think Mr. Carney's acting to type. They ordered postal workers back to work,
Yeah, exactly.
rail workers back to work, port workers back to work, flight attendants back to work, who are legal.
New idea. We have Polyev versus Angler debate with the interview from CTV as the moderator. I don't think it'd be a very long debate. I appreciate his willingness to collect himself. Yeah, absolutely. He thought about this question before he said
on
it.
strike. So ordering teachers back to work when the Conservative Premier of Alberta does it, it's wrong. When Mr. Carney does it, it's wrong. And I would say if Canadians want a government that respects workers' charter rights to strike, they should vote NDP.
Just at first glance, what did you make of the climate competitiveness strategy?
I haven't had a chance to really study it yet in any real detail.
Hello. That was very loud. There's a hello from Kiddo.
But that's something that we're interested in. We want to know what this budget's impact is on the climate crisis. I will note that Mr. Carney is not the Prime Minister who wrote values, I'll tell you. I mean, he was an enlightened capitalist in that book who claimed to understand the climate crisis. But ever since he's been elected Prime Minister, I've seen nothing but regressive moves on the climate. Whether it's, he canceled the carbon tax, then he weakened the EV moratorium.
All right. Kiddo's got one more message for you before she takes off. Go for it, Kiddo. Come here. You don't have to get that close.
I'm going to do some coloring to help my brain work smarter for...
Good job. Have fun coloring. Hello, Kiddo. Yeah. All right, let's keep... I miss my carbon rebate too.
Then he started questioning whether our emissions targets were there. And I did notice one thing in the budget where they're eliminating the greenwashing provision in the Competition Act, which would have reversed the onus and made people who claim that their product or service is good for the environment have to prove that instead of the other way around, namely oil and gas companies who run ads saying that clean natural gas or that kind of thing.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
taken out in this budget,
May would just shut
which
them
is
up so fast.
definitely a regressive anti-climate move.
Can you just explain very quickly how the party of unions, the Progressive Party, could in any scenario vote for a budget that includes 40,000 job cuts and nearly 60 billion in public spending
Good
cuts?
question.
Can you just explain how in any scenario?
So I use Kiddo because that is the word. That's what naturally comes out when I talk about her. I think if I changed it, I would accidentally use her real name. But she's used to Kiddo.
You could support a budget that has those two things.
Well, that's way too broad of a question. That is
Yeah,
obviously
same,
a
Gavin.
very, very significant factor to us. I do note that those jobs are intended to be cut largely through attrition and retirement, 40,000 over 3 years. We think it's the wrong way to go, though.
Nope, exactly.
And,
Plain power. That's why I always call her Kiddo.
That's a very important factor to us. On the other hand, the infrastructure spending, may create tens of thousands of unionized jobs as well. So we're going to have to balance these things out. We're going to have to study the budget. And
exactly, Faya.
This is not an NDP budget. Okay? This is a Liberal budget. And this is what you get when you elect a Liberal government, is you get cuts to...
It's something that when I started doing this, that Javi and I had a big conversation about. Politics, especially in the province that I live in, is so messy. This has nothing to do with her yet, other than the fact that, we'll be affected by it down the road, but
services.
She doesn't need to be part of this.
And you get sacrifices that are to be made by working people, while the richest people in this country are left scot-free. And that's not an approach that we support.
You talked about being pragmatic. For you personally, how does this budget...
Oh my goodness, we were just talking about kids. I 100% thought he was going to say pregnant. I refer to Kiddo as Lord Ruler of the House Hippocommons. Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate. She's assistant to the regional tyrant.
Compared to your expectations going in, did it exceed your expectations? Did it fall short?
It's too early to tell. I mean, I've come out of lockup an hour ago. It's funny, every time I say this budget's as thick as a phone book, I see half the people look saying, what's a phone book? And I realize how old I am. But it really is a complex document with a lot of moving parts to it.
I don't know.
I haven't formed an expectation
They do
yet.
deserve one anyway,
That's something I want to do with our caucus tonight and tomorrow, and with Canadians in the days to follow, and we'll have an answer shortly.
We're hearing some Conservative MPs might join the Liberal caucus. Chris D'Entremont is one of them, possibly. What message does that send, and would it be appropriate as a way to try to get a majority for the Carney government?
Well, it sends a message that not all's well in the Conservative Party.
Yes, it does.
I think. It shows that there are some cracks, I think, opening. I mean, I thought that Mr. Poilievre's comments a few weeks ago about calling the RCMP leadership despicable.
Yes, bring it back up.
And actually inferring that his political opponents should be jailed were totally inappropriate and frankly channeled Donald Trump, who has weaponized the judiciary and police forces of the United States against his political opponents. Totally inappropriate. So it doesn't surprise me that...
I always preach you should not post pictures of kids to the public pages. Yep. Yep, exactly. It's part of the reason why I use an avatar. I mean, it's to protect my own anonymity, but mostly it's for Kiddo. You know, if I was using a webcam, I can't always predict when she's going to run behind me, and she doesn't deserve to be stuck in a corner. I'm going to retract what I said about Don Davies earlier. He's got some fire under him.
That has caused problems among some people in his caucus, and but I'll leave that to him to work out.
Are you working for your caucus?
Good answer.
Any of your MPs can maybe cross the floor?
I have nothing but the strongest admiration and faith for everyone in my caucus.
Yes, you are.
So thanks very much, everyone. Thank you.
Good for him. Your child, Ms. Jumbie, wants to be a star. Yeah. No, absolutely you shouldn't be sorry. Yeah, and I mean that was the first sign that there were cracks in the sort of conservative caucus, was that they were like, hold on, he said what on a podcast? No thank you. Miss Jumbie is a star. Y'all, if you don't know, Gavin streams, and one of the amazing redeems that he has on his stream is that you can see his long kitty, and they're so precious. We love kitty. Yeah, Anu, it'll be interesting to see if the fallout from this is that I don't know that a large chunk of them would cross the floor. But it'd be interesting to see whether or not the Conservatives end up in a split party. Whether they go back to being a two-party system. I think that... that's too loud, sorry. I think that reduces the chances of sort of the really, really far-right people. No. Oh, no. Ah. Got me. Oh, this is so frustrating. Still here? Refresh if you need to. Sorry guys, so frustrating. Just Twitch. No, it's actually not even Twitch. It's OBS. It keeps disconnecting from OBS and I don't know why. I keep almost hitting the knock button. Yeah. That might be. That very well could be. Unfortunately, we're about to get an ad. Yeah, it didn't seem to end the stream because I'm still going from my original one. I'm wondering if that is Spotify. Let me not use Spotify for a while and hopefully the stream stays up. Yeah, maybe that's all it is. We'll see. I believe there's an ad playing? Question mark? Question mark? Tech operates on spite. It really does. Like, oh, hey, you want to do some, like, cozy vibes? Nah, we're going to crash. That would make sense, though, because it did crash during the break when I had music on. So, the Very Thirsty app. Yeah, I really should use something else. As a programmer, I can confirm. Okay. I'm not using Ada Multistream. I do have the latest OBS. That did help. I didn't have any crashes for about a week and a half. I'm using Restream. And I figured out how to make Restream not change the names of all of my streams. Oh. Come on. Still says I'm going. Oh, not Spotify. Yeah. It's not ending the stream, which is weird. Like my sister has on her Discord that it shows up every time I go live, and I'm not getting new notifications from her stuff. You know what I might do just for the next little bit? Because I was hoping to stream a little bit more of The Witcher. What I might do is shut down OBS entirely again. I'm going to rename the stream and maybe not dual stream for now. And we'll come back with some Witcher in a little bit. Could it be the router? No. All we have right now is hubby, and our tenant that's downstairs is not even home. So, and hubby's like watching videos with kiddo, so I really doubt that it's that. Gaming stream? Witcher story for Siege, yes. So I'm gonna say again, I will be back. What time is it right now? Oh, I'm doing good. Thanks, friends. I'm not gonna stream The Witcher for super long, maybe like an hour or two, but I'm good. This this is my one day this week that I'm gonna be doing politics. On Thursday, I think the only thing that I'm planning to do is watch the Manitoba legislation. That's my only plan for Thursday. And then that's it. The rest of this week, if I'm going to stream, it's going to be gaming streams because those are relaxing for me. And I'm not going to lie, I have been itching to play The Witcher for the last couple days. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop the stream, rename it, restart it, and I will be back in 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you for those of you that were here for the politics side of things. YouTube, if you want to keep watching, feel free to come over to the Twitch side. I'm going to shut YouTube down for the night. And tomorrow there'll be a debate on the budget. Might stream if that's interesting. Totally. And if you... yeah, Faya, we'll talk. We will talk. Everyone's favorite mod might appear to help with all the Manitoba happenings. Yes, Gavin and I are going to collaborate a little bit for Thursday. I work that day. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Lucky. All right. I might cover it again. Today was my work day. Anything else I do on top of today is going to be very light. Very little work from my end. Unless half of the Conservative Party switches over to the Liberals, then maybe we'll have a longer stream and laugh about it. But lower work for the rest of the week. Anyway. I am going to end stream. I will see those of you that are sticking around. Oh, nobody crossed yet. I'll cry, to be honest. One conservative left the Conservative caucus and crossed the floor to the Liberals today. Yeah. Anyway, stopping the stream. I'll be back in 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah, Siege, it was awesome. I love you guys.